December Supervisors meeting. And in Carol's, our secretary's absence tonight, Mike Reiner, our township engineer, is going to keep the minutes. So at this time, it's exactly 7 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order and invite you all to join the board as we stand and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time we'll have the roll call of the people at the front table here.
Okay, Jerry Long.
Present.
Arthur Zerby.
Here.
Melvin Boyd.
Here.
Township Engineer is here. Michael Reiner. Township Solicitor Bill Cassidy.
Here.
And Carol Martin is absent.
Okay, thank you. At this time we have our community open session, which we allow you to bring township issues and concerns before the board. I limit you to 4 minutes each, and if we have extra time, we can continue another round. So we'll start, and just whoever wants to speak, we'll just continue on. So who wants to go first? Okay, give your name so we...
My name is Don Matson. I live at 160 Shalom Drive at Sandstone Village, up behind the Turnpike Plaza. One day last week, we got some cloudy water. Went on and did a little testing, and a couple people looked at it, sensed they can Weaver. Come to find out, it looks like there's E. coli in some kind of sewer. So it's my house and my next door neighbor's house. 2 houses out of 30 to go. At this present time, sensing it can Weaver is going to drill a well for both of us and try to get some fresh water. Just have some concerns of, maybe do we know where it's coming from? Anybody heard anything in the community or whatnot? I'm just trying to find a source.
You have a well now.
I do.
How deep is it?
It's 112 feet deep.
It's fairly shallow.
What's your address again?
It's 160. Now, the 2 houses that have it is mine and my neighbor, Luke Zimmerman. And we're butted right up against the Turnpike Plaza itself up on the corner there. His is dirtier than mine, but just as stinky. I mean, we're not living in the house. You can't bathe in it, you can't drink it, nobody wash clothes in it. And I'm just very concerned.
What's happening, Sutton?
It got a little cloudy on us about a week and a half ago. I called Jake Espenshade. He does all my water system in the basement and all. I thought maybe something was going on with the softener. He came out. We kind of drained some water, didn't run any tests. His system was working well. It kind of cleared up. 4 days later, it came back with a vengeance. So this past Friday, me and my wife moved into a hotel room just to get out of the house because of the smell. And since then, we're living with the son up in Sinking Springs. So just very concerned with that. I mean, like you said, the depth or whatever the depth is, it's still in the water. I mean,
Right.
which concerns me. I mean,
How long ago did this happen? Just out of
about a week and a half ago, we got a little discolored.
This is,
no odor.
I'll have to apologize, this is the first I'm hearing this.
Understood.
I probably would have encouraged you to contact the township at that point.
Okay.
That is public sewer, if I'm correct.
That is
in
correct.
area.
Yes,
So,
sir.
that would have been something that we may have been able to contact the sewer authority if there was an issue there
Mhm.
of some sort.
Make a comment. If it is the sewer authority or the sewer, there's probably a leak somewhere, and the pipe going from the house out to the sewer, and water is maybe finding its way into the well somehow.
Okay, all of our sewer lines are out front, and the wells are in the back. I mean, I have that big travel plaza in behind me. They could have a leak. It could be running down the hill right into my backyard. I don't know that. I mean, you could point your fingers in a million directions until we could figure out actually the source.
But the sewer authority could run,
Snakes or whatever, cameras, whatever.
they could run a camera into it.
They're more than welcome to run it down. I just want to know the source, so it doesn't come back after I get clean water.
We'll come back to that later. Let's give everyone a
Okay,
chance.
I'm sorry.
So is there anyone else who wants to address the board? Go ahead, yes.
I live on Wood Meadow, right across 625 from this gentleman. And Wood Meadow at one time was blocked at the end with boulders, so it was not a through street to harvest. That's now open. So I don't know if our road is dedicated now.
It's not, okay. My concern is we're having more traffic through that street. We have flatbed trucks parked on that street. We have construction vehicles parked on sidewalks. We have no parking signs that are random. I mean, making no sense whatsoever. And the weirdest part about it is nobody adheres to those anyway. There's parking on both sides of the street. We have traffic fishtailing in and around. So I guess I would like to know at what point can there be some kind of order brought to that, you know, with some thought maybe being put into where those no parking signs should go. And then how do you start enforcing no parking signs when up to this point it wasn't enforceable because it wasn't a dedicated road? Because obviously some people have 6 vehicles parked on the road in the no parking area. If they would all get ticketed one day, that would not be a pleasant surprise. So I'd just like to know your thoughts on how that all works out.
May I have your name, ma'am?
I'm sorry, Sandy Martin.
Sandy Martin. Thank you.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, I guess that will conclude the open community session from the group. Can we address maybe Mrs. Martin's first? Maybe it's the easiest. Before the road becomes dedicated, do we still have some conditions that the township can place?
There is a punch list that was prepared for that, Jerry. The developer is working off that punch list of items that have to be addressed. And the items include dedication, deed of dedication, and maintenance agreement and so forth. That's still in process at this point. We haven't accepted dedication at this point. I can tell you the no parking signs are installed on the site per the approved plan that was approved back 10 years perhaps ago. So all of those items have been taken care of. We're down to as-built plans and things of that sort at this point. There is one remaining vacant lot that's out there remaining to be built upon yet. So that's one undeveloped lot, and I think that's where the majority of the construction vehicles.
No, the construction vehicles aren't roofs. They're people that live on the street. Like the gentleman at the farm has a big flatbed truck with a trailer behind that's parked on the side of where there's no parking, and then the other people are parking on the opposite side of the street. So that's very narrow through there.
Actually, it's a very wide street, to be honest with you. But
Well,
I
with the
understand what
flatbed
you're
on
saying.
one side and
Right, and I haven't been out there since it's been dedicated, other than drive through once in a
It's
while.
not
So-
dedicated.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said since it's...
I meant since I inspected it for
Okay.
dedication. I apologize for that.
When are you expecting dedication to take place?
I would say within the next month or two is when Luke was anticipating getting those items completed.
Fees and for
Yeah.
the no parking signs went through original planning commission, engineers, and they were placed in proximity of the more vulnerable places of blocking the site for traffic. Unless I actually looked, Mike, you said you were out. They should have been on the circumference of the turns, not just here, parked here, blocking the site distance.
You said no parking sign should be on the circumference, what you said.
Yeah, you don't want people parking there. So I don't know what it looks like out there. You might have looked closer, I don't know.
Yeah, they were placed according to what was on the approved plan. So they actually, I know the one was a turn and then it does a little,
Yeah, and then
little bit of an
I
S,
switched
so
to
it's
the
on
other side.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's where they are.
So, that's how that got to be there, is the no parking signs, because somebody could come with a pickup truck with a camper on back to visit somebody. And if they were parked on that circumference, it blocks the whole view of people coming around there. I guess you put that a little closer when you do get out sometime, but if it's according to plan, unless there's something really wrong.
Yeah, as far as I know, and Luke and I had this conversation, his concern was he doesn't install them per the approved plan. So his responsibility was to install them per the plan. If the township would like to modify that or change the signs or, location and so forth, we would have that right once the dedication occurs.
The other thing is where you say construction vehicles with trailers, which are, if you look at our zoning, is not permitted.
Right, but we don't have people to enforce that.
We have a zoning officer.
Well, if it's not dedicated, it's private property.
Right, it's,
Yeah.
You're just talking
we
about
can't do
the
anything
trailer,
at this
though.
point, yeah.
Well,
That's,
even
if
so-
it's in the zoning ordinance, then you would have.
After it's
you would have-
dedicated.
Right, after it's
We can't do
After
anything
it's
until
dedicated.
dedication. And then trailers, school buses, boats, campers, all that stuff is written up in our zoning ordinance that you can't park along the streets. And once it's dedicated, we have a zoning officer who then can go out and enforce that.
You can enforce that now.
Oh, you can?
I was wondering.
That's a zoning regulation,
Okay.
which is separate and distinct from the no parking on a public street. It's a private street, so as far as the parking regulations is concerned, any enforcement would be the private owner, the developer, until the road is dedicated. But as far as zoning regulations, I mean, that can be enforced at the present time.
Is it a zoning? I remember it was an ordinance.
It's in the zoning ordinance.
It's in the zoning
Yeah,
ordinance?
yeah.
Yeah, restriction of certain kinds of vehicles, recreational vehicles in the front yard and.
Right. Within that zoning district, yeah.
And
Sir.
now,
Is there a question back here?
I just want a clarification. What is meant by what exactly is meant by dedication?
So the road is, of course, originally built on private property owned by the developer. And until the road is offered to the township for dedication, where the township accepts a deed, the maintenance responsibility is on the private developer until it's offered with a deed conveyance to the township. Once that happens, then the township assumes the obligations of maintenance, repair, snow removal, and those types of things. It's a formal deed written up, presented to the township. The township decides to accept dedication if the road meets all the specifications and is inspected by the engineer, and the engineer determines that it meets the specs.
Okay, thank you.
Is this, go ahead.
now as far as enforcement, zoning officer can enforce it. I was never the zoning officer. But one time we had a pickup truck on Church Street, blocking half the street. I was a supervisor at that point and roadmaster. When I called the state police, they came right out. They took the license plate number. They found out whose truck was sitting there. I forget what they gave him. It wasn't very much time. Either get it off the street or they're writing a ticket.
And
So-
we did not park on sidewalks either.
No,
Am I correct?
no.
Well, is this something, Mike, you and Levi should get together and follow up on this?
I'll be honest with you, the parking issue, if he wants my assistance, obviously, in a trailer, that would be something. Again, usually the engineer doesn't enforce parking
Yeah.
in general,
Yeah.
nor does the zoning officer. It becomes a police matter.
In this case, it's a private owner, private developer, until it's a public street.
Well, do we,
Short of reminding the resident
Yeah.
that they can't park on the street where the no parking signs are, that's something we could mention to them.
or do we assign this to Levi to get with the homeowner? And-
Yeah, that would probably be a good suggestion.
Do you have any other questions? Okay. Back to you. And there was some discussion, whether it's our local sewer or possibly the Plaza sewer, you're not sure. And I guess you could start with the Northern Lancaster County Authority and ask them to check it out, and I'd give any other.
I can reach out to Fred Ebert, perhaps the sanitary engineer, and just, because we talk on a regular basis anyway, so I can mention to him that we have an issue that we brought forth tonight. And
Two
make
issues,
suggestions.
actually. It's my house and my next.
And that's fine. I'll use your address as a starting point, give him the explanation of what's occurring, and then he may have further suggestions at that point.
Would it be a good idea to test the water to see what's in it that might lead to?
And that may be a secondary.
I actually
thing,
have a
Bart.
test kit coming. It should be here Thursday.
Okay. Yeah, and he may suggest additional testing and producing, results, or test results that you have. So I'll reach out to Freddie.
I moved in 3 years ago, and of course my mortgage company required me to have that test done, and everything's clean.
Right, it would be a condition of your occupancy.
Right. So, just
Okay,
very
does that
concerned.
address your concerns
Uh,
for now?
Yeah, I mean, I just been looking to find the source. That's
Yeah.
my main concern.
You're gonna get whole freight,
Yes.
and who's gonna get whole sewer though?
Fred can actually relay that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all starting with Fred.
Will I be notified or anything if something occurs, or something I could be doing on my behalf to ensure that this doesn't go down the street to my neighbor on the other side of me, or?
What I would suggest is if you want to get in contact with Dottie or Carol tomorrow at the township office and leave your contact information, and then we can get in touch with you.
Okay, great.
Get some plan of action
All
together.
right, thank you.
Okay.
Then you're staying in a motel.
I'm actually staying at my son's house now. Friday night, we stayed at the hotel just to get out, make some other. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a guest tonight, Great Valley Consultants, or are you covering? Okay, come up.
Good evening. This is my first time before the board here. We were before the planning commission earlier this month. Last month. Last month.
No, it was last month.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I apologize. We are here on behalf of our client, John Zimmerman, who is looking to install a 60 by 600 turkey barn on a farm he currently owns. And we had submitted the plan previously to the Planning Commission and Technicon for review. We do have that review letter. It was before the Planning Commission dated November 22nd. So we have those comments. We have gone through them already with the Planning Commission. At this point, I don't know how the board typically handles the plan submission, but happy to answer any questions or proceed however you'd like.
Maybe I'll just supplement what Ryan has already said. Gave a brief overview of the project. If the board has any additional questions, Ryan is here to answer those. There's a letter November 22nd, as Ryan stated, with my review. The majority of the items being stormwater management, which we have discussed those internally and feel that those items can be addressed. There's also an NPDES permit that's required by Conservation District and DEP because of the total disturbance being over an acre. The Planning Commission had reviewed, there were 3 waiver requests, actually 2 waiver requests and a partial waiver that they recommended for approval tonight. One would be for road and shoulder widening along Silver Hill Road along the frontage. There was a recommendation to proceed to final plan for this project, and also a partial waiver for showing all existing features within 200 feet of the site. And finally, there was a recommendation of conditional final plan approval, provided the applicant addresses all the outstanding issues in the Technicon review letter. So I can certainly answer any other questions if you have them.
Back to the one waiver, widening,
Yes.
and they're looking for a waiver on the widening.
I believe the saldo requirements for a 3-foot shoulder improvement, which would be along our frontage on Silver Hill Road. Yes, that's the waiver that we're seeking. There's also a requirement, I believe it's in the same section, Mike, that requires dedication of additional right-of-way.
Yes.
We'd be more than happy if the township would, for some reason, foresee a need for that right-of-way to go ahead and dedicate that. We laid out all of our improvements to accommodate that. So at this point, yeah, we could certainly accommodate that without an issue. But yes, we were looking to not do a 3-foot wide shoulder improvement for the duration of our frontage.
So the right of way right now is 33 feet and requested you'll give us 50 feet.
Absolutely.
What's the length of the frontage that you're talking about that this increased right of way would be?
Is it labeled on there? I don't know. Off the top of my head.
Should be labeled.
Are you talking about the whole length from here to there?
Yes.
Yeah, along the entire track frontage.
It's probably on the other side. I flip it over.
Go ahead.
It's of course a series of curve functions. And we're looking down. Scale on the plan is 50. So. I'm gonna say it's probably close to 600 feet.
I know that the planning commission had some discussion about that, the condition of the road, the fact that it maybe in a couple of years there'll have to be some major work done, but I think they were reluctant to ask the homeowner or the landowner to put a 600-foot shoulder along a road that needs a whole lot more than a shoulder.
And I think that's, was really what we discussed with the planning commission. It seemed to make little sense to have a nice 3-foot wide shoulder and a road that needs work. If the township is looking to do a project out there, maybe that's a different story.
You start running trucks on there, that road ain't gonna last long.
We talked about that too, that it will be an occasional truck to handle the turkey farm, probably not more than what is going now with Uber and all
Well,
the others.
And the milk truck, yeah.
And the lumber trucks.
I think the planning commission felt that if they grant us the 50-foot right-of-way for future use, if the road is fixed, we'd have to do something then, but to impose that extra burden on an agricultural use on a back road that's hardly used, I think they were reluctant to recommend that.
From a truck standpoint, if I can, I know that that was discussed in a little bit of length with the planning commission. We're looking at 4 bird deliveries a year, okay? And the birds will show up basically in a box truck as peeps. And they'll be there for basically a quarter of a year. They'll be picked up with a tractor trailer. So that's going to be the heaviest truck, the largest truck that we're going to see, and that'll be 4 times a year.
The feed trucks are pretty big.
The feed trucks will come in, yep, from time to time. So we will have those deliveries as well. And there will be some manure hauled from the site, some waste hauled from the site as well.
I remember the feed trucks going up Gaiman School Road. Used to be box trucks just this morning, and they do a lot of their hauling. This morning, it was around 3:30 in the morning. I was up. Boy, they're full-size tractor trailer trucks anymore, delivering that feed.
Yeah, I guess what we can't predict is will this be the only delivery on that truck's route? And I can't venture a guess one way or another at this point.
It does get other truck traffic, there's no question about that. That road is pretty near all oil and chip. There's not much blacktop on that road. I can show you places where the sandstone is showing through the road surface, you know. This is gonna prompt looking at redoing Silver Hill Road sooner in the future than what the board probably ever anticipated. You know, because it's gonna bust it up. The more traffic you put on it, it's gonna take its toll. It's a toss-up, well, with the houses that are on it. It is the worst road in the township. 5 Pointville Road's next, but at least there's not the homes on there down at the very end. This is the worst. And to do it from one end to the other and do it right, you're looking at $1 million.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve these waivers.
Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
I make a motion that we approve this minimum cartway, a waiver for the minimum cartway, the preliminary plan, and the existing features within 200 feet.
Let's just clarify that. You're asking for a waiver of the minimal cartway. What are you suggesting, changing the right-of-way or just staying with the 20?
The 30, I think it's 30, right?
33. Yeah,
33.
Or you're not addressing the increased right-of-way?
No, I'm
Okay,
not.
okay, that's fine.
I'm not.
You're asking, okay, we had a...
They said they would give it to us if we wanted it.
So you're looking for them to offer that on the plan, the ultimate right of way?
Yes.
But the waiver would be for the shoulder improvements then?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So we did have a motion to grant the waiver on the shoulder improvements, and is that the extent of it?
And they also asked for a, to get by this preliminary plan
Okay,
approval,
for-
go right to final plan.
Okay,
And this existing
And the
features
existing
within
features,
200
okay.
feet.
okay. Okay, we've had a motion on all three of those. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion was second. Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you. At this point then, I guess if we're down to what I would consider a conditional final plan approval. As Mike referenced, we have our NPDES permit application in with DEP. That is, in all honesty, the lion's share of the work associated with this project. What I guess I would be looking for from you is that conditional plan approval so that really we wouldn't have to come back to see you again. I enjoy being here, but that would make it so that once we get our DEP approval, we can finalize the plans with Mike and Technicon and keep this moving forward.
And that's fine, that was also recommended by the plan. Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion then that we grant the conditional final approval based upon they meet all the comments per their review letter, and also that was from
I'll second that.
the, which is the producing the permit, who's giving the permit?
DEP.
Oh, DP, okay. Okay, the motion was grant that conditionally, and it was second. Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Any additional questions before I leave? Thank you very much.
Okay, you have the minutes from November's meeting in your packet. Are there any, have you read them? Are there any additions and corrections to the minutes as posted?
I've read the minutes, and I make a motion we approve them as read.
Second it.
Okay, the motion was made to approve the minutes, and it was second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. You have a copy of the bills that are due to be paid. Is there a motion to approve the bills?
I make a motion we pay the bills in the amount of $70,706.53.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, the motion was made to approve the bills as they're listed, and it was second. Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, we have reports. You have the Roadmaster's report. We also have a report from Levi Hoover regarding Boulder Hill and Oakland Drive. I did talk to Levi a little bit. I did not talk to Andy, but I wonder if you should put together a cost associated with making the repairs.
I have that put together.
Okay, and I wonder if that cost should be forwarded then to Bill Cassidy, and he should try to get reimbursement of that cost.
That's fine. We have, I have measured out all the base repairs that's done on that road. It's 4,000, 4,000 something square yards. The cost I have in my head is, without actually getting an estimate on it, I don't know.
No, I think a tentative preliminary estimate. I mean, and again, will there be some more projected damage until they're completely done?
As far as I know, all the stone that they have sitting at their substation there is supposed to get hauled back to the port. So there's going to be,
Yeah.
I would
yeah.
assume, more damage done yet, depending when they haul that stone back. If they haul it back in March when the frost is coming out, that's going to do massive damage to that road. But I do have everything painted out at this point, that way I will be able to pinpoint any new areas very quickly.
I guess I'm feeling that we need to give Bill some type of quantitary amounts of damage that we expect that we think we incurred, and even future damage, and somehow get the process started. Anything to add to that?
Just before we depart this evening, can you give me your telephone number that we can communicate regarding this issue?
I guess I hope you keep in mind that there may be more damage coming, so I don't know if you put a contingency in your numbers for, and then, we're going to try to get what we can. Any other comments on that?
Thank you for thinking ahead and marking it out and determining what you think is needed.
Okay, we have the engineer's report.
Okay, you have a copy of my report of December the 9th. On the, let's find the actual page. Page 4 and 5, yes, thank you. I list the items requiring board action and approval tonight. What I'll do is I'll run through these. There's a couple additions to the list that are on here, and if you so choose, the board can actually make one motion to approve all of the items under this section that I'm referencing, or we can go back individually and revisit them at your discretion. The items up for approval action this month include item number 1 is the Ivan Rife Stormwater Management Agreement. Item number 2 is the Armada Builders Andrews Way Lot 4 land development is a release request in the amount of $79,968.80. Item 3 is Matthew and Robin Schneider Stormwater Plan is a financial security release in the amount of $778.50. Item number 4 is the Millstone Village Phase 2 land development agreement and also streetlight petition. Item 5 is the Paul Hoover Stormwater Project is a release in the amount of $2,500. Item number 6, which is being added tonight, would be for Meadows Phase 2. That's a financial security release in the amount of $45,693. Item number 7 would be the Meadows Phase 3 subdivision financial security recommendation dated today in the amount of $386,376.89. And number 8 would be the Emmett Burkholder Stormwater Project. That's a memorandum of understanding and also stormwater management agreement.
Okay.
Can answer any questions if the board has any.
Are there any questions?
The only addition I would add is number 4 and the streetlight petition in conjunction with that. You need to adopt the resolution that I provided to you this evening that will add that light district to the others, and it sets forth the method by which the properties will be assessed for the lighting expense.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion then that we approve the items that the engineer has requested for actions, number 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion was made and seconded. Those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, item number 4, which is the approve the land development agreement and streetlight petition and adopt the resolution number 2016-1. I'll make that as a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we had the motion. It was second. Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, you have your list of SEO and zoning? Do we have any report from the solicitor?
Nothing this evening.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the reports as listed?
I make a motion that we approve roadmaster, engineer, SEO, zoning reports as presented.
Okay, I'll second that. The motion was made to approve the reports, and it was second. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we have old business. We have our budget for 2017 was, maybe you want to explain the process, Mr. Cassidy? It was advertised?
It was advertised, it's required to be advertised before the Township Supervisors act on the budget. It needs to be done before the end of the year, so this is the last meeting of 2016, so this will be for the 2017 year. And at the last meeting, there was some discussion regarding some of the line items and the budget. And it's been advertised, I take it. And so this will be the evening for further discussion, any input from the audience and questions regarding the budget if they had any, and for your consideration for adoption.
Okay, I'll try to summarize the budget briefly, and then if there's any questions. The budget, looking back over the past 2 years, 2015 to 2016, generally the revenues have been increased about 4 to 5%, and expenditures basically follow about the same pattern, 4 to 5%. This year, the budget for 2017 basically followed the same trend. There's been about a 4 to 5% increase in the basis of it, but then there was the local service tax, which added, is projected to add about $94,000 additional. So that represents pretty much what the increased revenue we're expecting in 2017, which if you take the 4 to 5%, which is usually about $60,000 to $70,000 plus the 94, the proposed increased revenue in our budget for 2017 is, I think, was about $170,000. Now, out of that, the expenses were also increased. About $160,000 was increased to the road maintenance and repair portion. There was also an increase in expenses to address the MS4 program. So right now, our projected budget and expenses for 2017 in the general fund, the projected revenue is 1.4, and the projected expenses are 1.366. So we're projecting about a $45,000 surplus at this particular time in the 2017 budget. So, yes.
Could you explain what the MS4 is?
The MS4 is a municipal stormwater regulations, in which is one of these unfunded mandates that have been pushed down through, and we are required to map all the off-flows, waterways. Am I missing something? Everything.
Everything that's related to stormwater runoff. Yes.
And then we have to develop a plan in which we will reduce the pollutants into these areas. So no one knows what it's going to cost. We've budgeted approximately $50,000. Hopefully we won't need it. But, and we're hoping that we can utilize some of our township staff to do some of the mapping. But we will be as stingy as we can, but it's a requirement that's coming down from DEP and EPA. Any other questions? Yes.
With
Wait now.
the
Next.
change in
Okay.
administration, I suspect there'll be some changes in rules and regulations. And is there any reasonable hope that MS4 might become a little more common sense?
Well, we would certainly hope, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. At this point, again, if we don't have to spend it, we won't.
And you don't know how long that will take either,
Yeah.
to work its way through the process.
But you have to remember, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation is one powerful group. They have a lot of...
Okay, we had a question, Mr. Funk.
Yeah, I have several questions.
Okay.
The one, 1,158,700 is the Act 511 taxes. What are the details associated with that? There's an 18% increase there from 2016. So what are the big rollers that have increased that
Well,
tax revenue?
You're talking about the Local Taxes Act
Local
511.
enabling tax,
Yeah.
511 taxes.
Which is item 2.
It's $1,158,000. That was 182,000, 18% over last year.
I'm pretty
Last year's
sure
budget.
that's including the local service tax,
Okay.
which, like I say, the biggest portion of that is again, it'll be a year, we'll find out, but we're projecting about $90,000. of-
90,000.
Yeah. The other part of that is earned income, which we, again, project like 5%. Now, that's been typically, maybe if our residents, get a 2% across the board increase, and a couple of families move in with, substantial incomes, that's where we get that. And it is majority of the revenue that the township receives.
The total revenues are $1,408,000. The equity funds, in 2016, there was $327,000 identified in equity funds that was a carryover from 2015. This year, there's zero projected for 2017. But the 2016 budget also showed $447,000 of unappropriated funds budgeted. I would expect some of those unappropriated funds from 2016 to carry into 2017. I wouldn't expect that zero to be there.
Yeah, I don't know what you have and what the zero. Right now, unofficially, I think we're projecting possibly $100,000 surplus from 2016, which would add to the 327.
I would expect that equity funds estimated of carryover from 2016 to be more than zero. Again,
Yes,
2016 showed $447,000 of unappropriated funds. So I guess the question is, what happened to those unappropriated funds? I would expect some of them to show up in the 2017 budget estimate.
Yeah, I don't know where you're reading something that's saying zero, but
Equity funds, under the revenues for the general fund proposed 2017 budget, it says equity funds, parentheses, estimated carryover 2016. And it shows zero.
the copy I have is showing 500,000.
Oh, well, the one that was given to me on this notice shows zero.
Maybe there was a 5 and a 0. No.
No, it's a zero.
Yeah, I don't know what you have. I think all our copies here, both
This one
are showing equity funds,
This one
estimated
was given to me
carryover.
by Carol, and, I can show it to you.
I'd like to see it briefly, but at the same, I don't know if it's, Yeah, I'm not sure when this, I don't know what you got here. But shall we make a copy and give you this?
Well, it would, I'm not
I
going
don't
to review it
know. I don't
tonight
know.
and question
Yeah,
it.
I
The
don't
only thing I have to go on is what Carol gave me.
Yeah, and I don't know what date she might have given you that, or...
Well,
Okay.
that's just the way she gave it
But-
to me. That's what had the notice on it.
But you're correct, it is not zero, and for the record, it was estimated at 500,000.
Okay. That makes sense. So the total assets and revenue are what?
The total assets, the proposed budget projects the total assets and revenues of 1.910462.
Okay. Good. Bear with me for a minute. The highway maintenance, there's 183,000 in there, which is a considerable increase from last year. 134% increase from last year. There are highway maintenance funds, both from the general fund and also from the state liquid fuels tax. So is my understanding correct, there's 183,000 from general fund, 193,000 from the liquid fuels tax. So 302,000 is the total expected highway repair and maintenance budget.
No. The highway repair maintenance budget is 399, for 2016 is 399.
Well, this is not the gutters and
No, well-
this is snow removal, things like that. This is just the repairs and maintenance.
Yes, that's correct. The proposed budget for the township roads, Brecknock Township roads, some of it comes out of the general fund, some of it comes out of the state fund.
Right.
The total is $399,214. And this is where it's been increased substantially from last year.
Okay.
And we're aware of that. The average, over the past 15 years, the average cost to maintaining our roads in Brecknock Township has consistently been around $400,000 a year. Some years it was reduced, and some years it was higher, but on an average it's been right around that $400,000 mark.
On the, again, this is Brecknock Township General Fund proposed 2017 budget. At the expenses, the bottom of the page, it shows EE benefits and pension, parentheses, EE contributions / state aid. Last year, that was $90,000. This year, it's gone up to $109,000. So that's a 20% increase over 2016. What's the reason for that increase? That's a significant increase.
I don't know what you're seeing, because I have 2016 last year. The pension EE benefits is $90,000, and this year it's $12,000.
Well, last year was one category.
And you might,
That was-
but it looks like these two. This is 2015 or 16.
Right. See, EE
Is this what
benefits
you
is
see?
97.
Okay, you're over here now. This is
Yep.
2017.
Yep.
97 and 12.
Right.
Last year it was 60 and 90.
Last year I had 90 for EE. There was
What
only
should-
one line item that was EE benefits.
Okay, what's EE benefits? So you're saying it looks to you like it went from 90 to 110, basically?
Yes, correct.
I don't know. Again, this is a tentative budget that we're approving. It does not relate to the actual cost. Those
Sure.
we'll address as we go, but
Sure.
this is what she's
But, I guess the
projecting.
only point is a 20% increase in the category EE benefits and pension EE contributions is a significant increase from last year. So the question is, what is the reason for the increase? That's all. the, over on the next page, the state funds. It shows, these are my page, that there was equity funds, parentheses, estimate of carryover from 2016, and it shows 0. And there was $99,997 in 2016. Again, this is from liquid fuels. That was unappropriated funds. So I would have expected to see something show up in the equity funds carryover from 16. Unless that 99,000 went to something else.
Well, the carryover from 15 to
We
16.
had a party.
No. I'm not sure what you got. The carryover in state funds from 2015 to 2016 was 40,000. It's projected to carry into 2017 at 150.
See, I have 0 carryover in equity
Yeah,
funds
well,
from 2016.
yeah.
But 2016, for these revenues, excuse me, the expenses, showed a $99,997 or $99,000 carryover. So I would have expected some of that to show up here, unless that $100,000 was spent.
Yeah. The equity funds carried over from 16 or carry over to 16.
From 16.
Right now, we're anticipating the carryover to be 150,000.
That would be to 18.
From
17 to 18.
17. Yeah. I don't know. Again, these are yeah. So you
Don't know.
Yeah. Again, these are projected budget to get us going into next year. It doesn't mean it's going to
I
automatically
still
be an
expect
expense.
if 99,000 was unappropriated, again, this is from the liquid fuels in 2016, unless it was all spent on something, unless Andy bought a new truck. I would expect some of those funds to show up.
We do get them. We get it audited every year from Nichols and Weinhold. It's legit. Yeah. I think. I mean, I'm showing 40,000 carryover. So.
Yeah, that's unappropriated funds from 2017.
No, I'm showing 40,000 from 15 into 16 previously.
41,990?
From carried over from 2015
to 16
was 40,000.
Okay. Yeah. And then 16 to 17 was 99,000.
That I don't have.
Okay. I'll talk with Carol.
Yeah, I think that would. Yeah. And again.
And I assume that information is generally available.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions concerning the proposed budget? Again, this is not, we intend to be prudent spenders of your money. It's just, just because it's proposed in a budget does not mean it's going to automatically be spent. If there's not any other questions, does the board have any discussion or want to take action on it?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
My comment is that I wish that we had given our first responders, fire and police, or fire and ambulance, more money than we did, because it's been the same for, I think I said, 11 years. But then Arthur said, sometime in the middle of the year, possibly we can give them more. So, with that being said, I stand down on that issue. But I think when we start looking at the budget for next year, if possible, we can break out of this slump and start giving them something that they deserve, because all of their work is done on a volunteer basis. They're buying their own equipment, they're buying their own fire trucks. I mean, it's just, and the help we give them is really not enough, especially with the growth in the community.
I don't disagree with you.
And I think there's enough money in our budget to give them more.
Okay, do you have any comments you want to add?
None other than we go into this year. At any point, we can change the contributions on just about anything, correct? So, I
As long
don't,
as you have the funds.
right, and make sure we don't get in a bind or, spring's coming. I know how ugly spring can get. I've seen more than one bridge washed out. You know, you never know what's next.
Okay, is
So,
there,
No question.
okay, yes.
Just from a learning standpoint, with all the developing, the new development in Brecknock Township, and most of it being well water, what function of the township determines like how many wells can draw off a certain amount of land before it starts to affect the water pressure in people's houses?
Mike, could you address that? Basically, through the development process, land development process,
Yes.
there is,
Usually, every development, every larger density development has to go through a water impact study, in general is what it's called. They look at the underlying geology, they look at the water yields of the wells in the area. There's usually some kind of well test that perhaps is required prior to the development going in that shows the amount of yield. And there's a process that they have to go through prior to land development approval. So several of the developments, I know Hog Valley included, went through that process years ago, had to prove that there's enough water on the property and so forth, and what the impact may or may not be on other properties as well. So that's typically when it's done in the planning process.
there is some zoning also that requires, these townhouses or multiple units. Zoning requires them to do tests on their water drawdowns to make sure they're.
Yeah, to tell us a little bit about what Maple Ridge North went through before they were able to build.
Yeah, we had several discussions with them and their hydrogeologist prior to them installing. One of the concerns there was the amount of properties all in close proximity, being in their townhouses and apartments. We had significant discussions with them, meetings prior to the planning approval that was given. And there were conditions that were placed on the final plan that had to do with providing that information as part of the occupancy permit to show that there's enough well yield and the quality of the water was sufficient.
Okay, well, we'll apologize for Mr. Funk on behalf of the board that your information does not match ours. I can't. Yeah, and unfortunately, she's not up to it and not with us tonight, but if you want to list the questions to her and see that the board gets it, we'll make sure you get the answers you want. If there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve our proposed 2017 budget as it was advertised and listed in our packets.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion was made to approve our 2017 budget, and it was second. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, next item of old business. We have a report from the Planning Commission, and also we have a brief summary of their recommendations on page 2 in your book. I'd like to explain this process a little bit. We asked the Planning Commission to review our current highway commercial status, available, what we had, because it had become built out when PP&L bought out for the substation. Plus, we had a couple properties within them areas that were either grandfathered in or they were operating some cottage industries or home occupations that we wanted to bring into compliance with our zoning. So we asked the Planning Commission to review that and make some recommendations to the board. They have this list that they presented for consideration. we would tonight possibly have that turned into a draft amendment and have our engineer prepare a draft map that would basically identify the proposed areas. It would go back to the planning commission. They would then have an open hearing or open to the public, which they would take comments from all the landowners that would be affected, would be notified. They would have the opportunity to go back to the planning commission and basically get feedback, at which that time the planning commission would take that public feedback from the community, from each homeowner that's affected, and then they would propose a final revised proposal that we would look at as an official amendment to our zoning map. Is that clear, or is that something of the process? Do you want to expound on that?
Essentially, that the planning commission can have the text of the amendment prepared and the zoning map amendment prepared. The MPC would allow for the municipality's planning code, state law regarding zoning. Alternative would be for the planning commission to hold a public meeting pursuant to public notice, and individual notice could be given to the properties in question. And then they could attend, any neighbors, property owners could attend that public meeting for discussion. The planning commission is allowed to have further meetings, as long as there was, interest by the public and it was still being discussed. Once the planning commission decides which they want to, proceed and make a recommendation to the supervisors, they would put it in a form for you to review. And then if you decide to move forward, there would be another hearing before the Board of Supervisors regarding the formal amendment to the zoning ordinance text and the zoning ordinance map. So, and then that's going to be publicly advertised. Properties in question would be posted. They would be notified as well. And that's the procedural process by which a piece of land can be amended from one zoning district and classification to another.
These are recommendations by the Brecknock Planning Commission or the Lancaster County Planning Commission.
See, this is the very preliminary start. At this point, it's from our planning commission. They've suggested certain things, and I think tonight we as a board might just offer comments on it back to the planning commission. They would then forward, they would have their public, and they also it would be sent to the Lancaster Planning Commission. They would also comment on it before it would come back to us. And then we would have an open public. Tonight, it's not really intended that this is to take input from the crowd as it would be when it goes back to the planning commission. They get, like I said, they get the recommendations from the Lancaster County Planning Commission, and then when it comes back at that point, it may not even look like this. So that's why this is just step one of the process, in which I guess the board has an opportunity to just comment on this, not necessarily approving or disapproving, it's just maybe making comments to go back to the planning commission, let them then take our comments, let them notify each landowner that's involved. Currently, and I don't know, Mike, would you care to read the minutes from that meeting, or the section that?
I can do that. Maybe I'll add just one other thing in relation to Ron's question. Randy Highland was actually present for those discussions also from the County Planning Commission. He had also provided some limited memo, if you will, of some suggested areas that we may want to look at. And I believe all of those areas, the majority, if not all of those areas, were actually included in the recommendation that the Township Planning Commission is providing. So we did have some input from Randy, just informally at this point, obviously, but just with the hope of helping the Planning Commission discussion along at our meetings. Yeah, I'll read, do you want me to read the whole?
Maybe start where September, the items were, start maybe the second sentence.
Okay, sure.
Second line.
Discussion was, initiated based on the recent build-out of the HC zoning district with the construction of the PP&L substation along Route 625. At the September meeting, 2 separate map exhibits were presented indicating the 3 areas suggested for consideration of rezoning. Exhibits presented at this meeting included those parcels plus a couple additional parcels adjacent to the ones proposed initially. It was clarified that the 3rd area previously discussed in September and located along the Pennsylvania Turnpike and south of Mountain Lane would be considered for inclusion into the light industrial zoning district. The Planning Commission was supportive of the rezoning. In addition, 2 residents were present also voicing support of the proposal. And this is where the motion was, motion made by the Planning Commission to recommend the 2 map exhibits showing the acreage information be forwarded to the Township Supervisors for consideration within the highway, commercial, and light industrial zoning districts, and schedule a public meeting to inform residents of the potential rezoning prior to formal adoption. The first area consists of 8 parcels on the west side of Route 625, just north of the Grove property and south of East Bowmansville Road. Second area consists of 9 properties on the east side of Route 625, north of Schrossel Lane. The third area, which would be considered for the light industrial district, consists of 6 properties on the east side of Route 625, north of the PA Turnpike, and again south of Mountain Lane. And that motion was all in favor.
And to answer your question a little further, Ron, the County Planning Commission provided before the Board of Supervisors public hearing the version of the amendment to the map and the text that will be before the board for their consideration for ultimate adoption, asking the county for their formal recommendations and comments. So they'll give a written commentary before
Is it presented to the County Planning Commission in person or just the document?
the document. And then it'll be at least 45 days before the hearing at the township, and they will consider that at a public meeting, the county.
Okay, does the board have any comments they'd like to make?
I have a couple of questions. How is the property currently zoned, all these properties?
Currently, I believe they're all in the agricultural zoning district. I
think you're right, yeah.
I think they are ag, yes. I just wanted to make sure that they were not, there's a little bit of residential in that area, but that doesn't affect that.
The total is almost 170 acres of ag land. That's an awful lot of ag land. That's several farms, of the farms that we have in this area size.
Anything else?
That's it for right
Okay.
now.
Did the Township Planning Commission look at the comprehensive plan and the future land use map and evaluate?
Yeah,
This
they actually,
issue.
right, that was
And
actually.
it was part of the discussion with Mr. Heilman as well.
Actually, Randy provided that information up front. Actually, that was meeting number 1. He gave us the example of the growth map, and then we looked at our own zoning map as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll comment. Yes, it does sound like a lot of acreage, and it is. But as Randy mentioned to me at the one meeting, just because it's zoned ag and it's used for something else, the county is more interested in bringing properties into compliance than calling them something they're not. So this, and again, I don't want to make too many more comments. We gave it to the Planning Commission for their expertise. This is what they presented. I'd really like to, my motion be, my opinion is to have to go back to them, and then at their public hearings, we can provide comments just like everyone else. In fact, I would like maybe to add a comment that if there's any possible way to try to include Souter's Garage as a currently grandfathered, non-conforming use, if it could be somehow, and leave it up to them how they would do it. Other than that, that would be my comments.
Well, I see something else here on Reading Road. There you have Reading Body. and you have these properties between Bowmansville Road and the Turnpike on the west side of 625.
Yes.
Are they not included?
They are not included currently.
I feel they should be.
Okay.
They're just boxed in, there's nothing. And here, this
Yeah.
fella right there just started his business up again. He's in,
So there's 3
he's
additional.
in Georgia right now.
I know the 3 you're talking about, Art, they actually were brought up during the discussion, and
Even
they
the
were
little
not
one on the
included.
corner.
Well, I think the idea of the little one in the corner is to make the connection across the road and get some property over there. But yeah, no, that's a comment to pass
But
back to the
those-
planning commission.
It's not gonna change the appearance much, but somebody could do something, and it'll fit in with the rest of the properties around them. Mill said about 170 acres of agricultural land. The only thing is, I'm sure you're including the Brubaker
Did you
Farm.
include this in the next page?
Mm-mm. No,
Because that's not, yeah. that's
no, I
not-
didn't include that, no.
You didn't include the Brubaker Farm?
That one for 103 acres?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no, it's easy. All you gotta do is get a calculator and sit down, and you can see it immediately adds up to 150, 180 acres.
You said 170. Now,
178, how about that?
I doubt if this will be the finished version when they come back, but that's not,
168.16 is what I got.
there may be some property, they've looked at this thing. I was at one of the meetings. They put together some that they offer for consideration. Some of this might be wetlands over along Bowmansville Road. There's possibly quite a bit of wetlands that cannot be utilized. The big 13 in the middle possibly is restricted from a lot of use. Let's let them work through it and refine it and take public opinion from all the homeowners and come back with something workable.
Okay.
Question?
Yes.
My understanding is that the impetus for the change is the fact that when PPL developed their property, we used up most of our highway commercial. How many acres did PPL take out? More or less than 170?
Quite a bit, yeah. I don't know
And
how many.
also, at a prior meeting, Randy Harmon had mentioned that another municipality had light industrial land also zoned highway commercial, so that there would be less negative impact on farmland.
Okay, I think to answer your question, yes, this was generated because PP&L purchased, I think it was like 50, 60 acres of highway commercial. The other, what drives this is to provide residents in our township that currently might have home occupations, cottage industries, or even farm support business that are growing these and are looking for a place in our township that they might be able to purchase property and continue to grow along a major highway. So you put them two together, plus the fact that there are a number of properties within these areas that we would like to bring into compliance with our township zoning, and that's where you get the main bulk of drive behind this.
You're talking about these properties just here north of the Turnpike.
There's one there, there's some up on the other side of Torostal Lane. But again, just, I would like to leave it up to the planning commission to work through and make another offer. But the next step for us, Mr. Cassidy, I think.
Well, again, the way this has proceeded, this has been initiated by the planning commission, so they would have the task of preparing, the text amendment, but primarily the zoning map change. Hold a public meeting, not a hearing, public meeting, which is subject to public notice. The public can come and make their comments. And then whatever comes out of that, their final version and forward it on to the Board of Supervisors for your consideration, and if you want to move forward to schedule a public hearing and advertise that, under state law. And then have the county planning commission make their comments of that final version.
That would require a motion by the board?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'd make the motion that we return it back to the planning commission with the comments that we've added and ask them to continue the process of notifying the homeowners and scheduling the public hearing and run it by the Lancaster County Planning Commission. Have our township engineer prepare a draft map which shows the suggested areas, and would you prepare a draft amendment?
Yeah, and we would be drafting those respective items for the Township Planning Commission's purposes, wherever they ultimately decide. We would prepare those items, and then the Planning Commission would have their public meeting after public notice.
Okay, that was my motion.
Well, what's the first step now?
Sending it back to the Township Planning Commission for preparation of the zoning map, whatever they consider to be, their proposal, and a text.
Would it be this proposal that they've already made?
Doesn't necessarily have to be that.
Their comment, our
I mean,
comments
it
would,
can be.
our
It can be.
comments would
It can
accommodate
be.
that.
What was Arthur's comment?
Well, see what they come up with, and we can go from there. There might be some areas we don't like, and some areas that we do like, and they're the planning commission. They make their recommendation to the board, what they feel, and we look at it and with the input from the public, go from there. There are quite a few properties along there, even if the zoning was changed, will never change. The property, and they will stay a residence exactly the way they are now.
Also, I do know that Levi Hoover contacted the tax assessment office, and they do not change their tax basis on zoning. It's primarily on use. They did confirm that. So unless they take out a building permit and make some type of improvements that change the use, their tax basis will not change.
There's a lot of houses along there that cannot. They wouldn't be able to start in any kind of business or something because they never begin to meet our zoning.
And they certainly aren't farms.
They'll never meet the zoning. They wouldn't have the room. They just won't fit.
Well, why would we then call them highway commercial?
You don't want. I feel you don't want blotched. There are some parcels in between that are a little larger. That to pick them up to grandfather. But it won't change the looks or the conditions of that property and the buildings on it because
I understand what you're saying. What you just said was there's some houses there, they're gonna stay houses, residences for, but then why would we rezone them highway commercial? That's what I'm saying.
I don't think you'd want to. This one, not those two. Well, this one. Okay, this one should be grandfathered. No, not this one. Maybe them three. Do you want to go through with the blotched effect?
I understand, which is not spot zoning or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's not good, but at the same token, I see us rezoning stuff that is never going to be highway commercial.
Well, we have stuff now that will never be what it's zoned.
That's true, but that doesn't mean we should make more of it. If there's something large piece of property here that is not farmable, has never been farmed, I can see that being highway commercial. Just to I mean, some of these are pretty far off of 625.
Well, between me and you, I'm not real interested in those that are way off of 625 at this point.
I made a motion that we turn it back to the planning commission for their, to continue their process of notifying the homeowners, getting Lancaster County's planning commission's input, and refining something that they can present back to us as a viable option.
Well, wouldn't they just have to, instead of notifying property owners at that point, when they haven't even finalized, what we're going to call what? Why would you notify property owners?
That's where the planning commission comes in. They're the ones who will recommend to us what should be highway commercial, what should be industrial, and make the recommendations to this board.
Right, but would they then, if we accept them, then you notify the property owners?
No, we want the property owners notified in advance so they can have the opportunity for input.
At the planning commission.
At the planning commission level. Okay.
Giving them additional opportunities to speak.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion was made and it was second. Those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All. Motion carries. Okay, we have one last item. We've received a volunteer application from a gentleman that's interested in joining a vacancy on the Northern Lancaster County Authority. He was invited to one of their meetings last month, and we got the recommendations from at least the sewer plant manager and some of the board members that they would, I should say, they would recommend that we appoint him to the board. So at this time, I'd like to appoint Jesse Martin from 117 Country Road, Denver, to finish the term of Dennis O'Brien, which is a one-year term. And that's my motion.
I'll second it with a question and answer.
Okay. Okay. We had it second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
What does that say?
That says a son, Trevor, married with 3 kids.
Is Trevor married with 3 kids?
Yes, that says wife Nancy works at Shady Maple.
Yeah.
Son, Trevor, married with 3 kids. Okay, that concludes. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
I second it. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all for coming out. And if we don't see you before the holidays, you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.